What's good, y'all? Elvis here, back again with another episode of Better Barber. For my new people, Better Barber is a series that I started where I share tips and tricks to make me a better barber. The other people used to make them better barbers, and I need the better people. So lately, I've been politicking with a lot of barber students lately. They've been asking me a lot of game as far as like my experience in the shop and just as an experienced barber and whatnot. There's a big difference between the stuff you learn and practice in barber school and what you actually utilize on the everyday in a shop. So some people have some questions about just like real shop experience or real just barber experience, but I have a lot more, let's say, less experienced barbers that aren't in barber school asking me if barber school is even worth it. It's kind of a complicated answer, but today I'm jumping into it. So long story short, barber school I think is worth it. But I think it depends on how you're utilizing the time. Because in North Carolina, our requirement for barber school is 1,528 hours. So you have to log 1,528 hours with your school to get registered, to be able to take your apprentice exam and, actually work in the shop and all that stuff. Other states have like an apprentice program where you can work in the shop earlier than that, but I've heard that sometimes it's more expensive than actual barber school. Of course, you get a lot more hands-on experience, but it's less one-to-one instruction like it would be in a school. But I wouldn't know for real, because I did not go through an apprenticeship program, so ask somebody else about that. If they had an apprenticeship program in my state, I probably would have did that because I was cutting hair for 4 years before I even went to school. Like, I made sure I was proficient as far as everything I need to know as far as sanitation. Like, I was already cutting at a professional level way before I was at barber school. So I'm the kind of person that doesn't even care about credentials, if I'm being honest. I care about competence. So like barber school, I only went to barber school to get the papers so nobody could tell me I couldn't cut hair. And then right after that happened, COVID happened, and they told me, well, you can't cut hair. So it kind of defeated my specific purpose. I utilized the time in barber school really well because even though I technically knew most of what I needed to know to pass the test and be licensed, I was going out of my way to grow the skills that I was more deficient in. I guess it's very school to school because it really depends on the environment your instructors and your students provide for real. You can really learn from anybody, even if it's just you're learning what not to do or how to be more efficient. There's always jewels and tools you can take from everybody's process. So there's a lot of people in barber school that first started cutting hair that couldn't really tell me too much about cutting hair, but there was a lot of game that they gave me as far as streamlining my process. Maybe there's a technique they used that would have saved me some time, or they put me on with a tool or a product that took my quality up a notch. Or a lot of times it's even just like interacting with clients. Like you learn a lot about how to managing people and human interactions, just interacting with coworkers / classmates. There was a lot of game that I got that I otherwise wouldn't have if I wasn't in that environment. I would say barber school was worth it for me because I utilize any free time to the highest level. So to get the most out of barber school, I recommend challenge yourself every opportunity you get. I understand barber school, a lot of times people just get into barber school and the whole thing is a challenge because it's all new. Eventually, things start to get comfortable and people like to just get to a comfortable level and then work on something else. And that's fine, but like something I've realized over my career is like whenever I'm comfortable, my skill is stagnant because discomfort is the first indicator that I'm doing something, that I'm growing into a situation, that I'm doing something that I'm not accustomed to doing. My capability is growing. If I'm comfortable, that means I'm coasting. And sometimes it's okay to be comfortable in one area while you're just like, let's say, building up pillars of different things. Like if let's say you're comfortable with your lineups, but you're not comfortable with your fading. Of course, you want to continue getting better with your lineups, but put your effort into your fading because that becomes the main deficiency. Of course, you want to have overall good service. You don't want to have a really dope lineup but a really shitty fade, or really shitty fade but really dope lineup. You want to be hitting on multiple pillars. I would say you want to be well-rounded, but then after you're well-rounded, focus on your superpowers. Like things I was doing in barber school, I was testing all my limits. I was seeing how fast I could cut hair. I was learning different ways to cut hair. I was learning shears techniques. Before then, I had never picked up detachable blade clippers. Hands down, I recommend everybody needs to learn how to use detachable blade clippers. I feel like if you're a barber without utilizing detachable blade clippers, you are cutting at like half your capacity, or like half your quality, half your efficiency. Like you have no idea how well you can cut until you can cut proficiently with multiple tools. That's the more game I otherwise wouldn't have got if I didn't go to barber school. That was stuff my instructors were trying to put me on. When there's a gap or a problem to solve, we like to just fill in that gap and then wait till the problem's big enough and wait till we have a bigger problem to improve it more. What people consider a master is just a really dedicated student. A student that has dedicated their life to the game. So they're always growing into a more valuable resource over time because they're always adding to their knowledge and understanding. Barber school is a grind for a lot of people because, like for me, I was cutting hair for like 4 years before I went to barber school. So I already knew how to do all this. And it was also hurt my pockets because I had to, of course, pay for tuition, but also I wasn't making as much money because barber school haircuts are not the same price as regular haircuts. And I was accustomed to getting paid my regular price. There was a lot of adjustments I had to make to just grind out that season. Not to mention, like, more than half the haircuts I did when I was in barber school, I did not get paid for it. The key to making the most of that time is to focus on it as a training arc. During that time, I was, getting my reps up. My main goal was to focus on my efficiency. What can I do to streamline my process, to make my process better? So as I progress in my craft, I never have to worry about the product, because if the process is constantly getting refined and getting better, the product will always be better over time. This is low-key a big topic. I feel like this is a topic I could talk about, so I might make multiple videos talking about this, because, and even with barber school, most people that go to barber school don't end up being barbers for real. They just get the skill set, because barber school is it's kind of similar to college for a lot of people, where it's the natural next step in what they were expected to do, rather than the thing that actually makes sense for their path. Barber school for me, I technically didn't need barber school to learn to cut hair, because I did that. If I went through the process, if instead of trying to do the trial and error bullshit process that I did, and I just tried to get some one-on-one instruction from the jump, I would have streamlined my process in less than a third of the time. I think barber school is worth it, but it all depends on your intentions. Even though my main objective for barber school is to get the papers so I could cut legally, I got so much more than I bargained for when it came to value, but that's because I went out of my way to find the value. My barber school mentor, Dr. Gene Blackman, he's also my instructor, he put me on so much game. This is also because I saw how much game he had just off the way he lived his life, so I went out of my way to pursue that. So I was like, hey, can you put me on this? Can you put me on that? And keep in mind, there's a lot of stuff he put me on that I was like, man, I don't want to hear that. And some of it I really didn't need. It's all about eating the meat and spitting out the bone. If it don't apply, let it fly. If you waste your time, you're not going to get a good return out of it. So it makes sense to utilize it always.
All right, so my camera overheated, but basically, I feel like I said up most of the stuff I wanted to say. Barber school, like any opportunity, is really what you make it. If you go through it ignoring opportunities for growth, you're not gonna grow. It's not just enough exposing yourself to a new opportunity. Like within that opportunity, you have to go out and pursue value, you have to pursue the growth that you want, or otherwise it's not gonna come to you. And even though my purpose for barber school ended up changing, it still added a whole lot to the craft. I learned a bunch of soft skills when it comes to interacting with clients that made me a better barber, not necessarily a better hair cutter, because I had that ability. Being a barber is more about the relationship with the client. While of course having the ability to give good haircuts is crucial as a barber, I think it's underrated the importance of building your relationship skills as a barbering professional, because without relationships, there is no business. But that's really all I got for today. If y'all got any value, please go ahead and like and subscribe. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram as well as TikTok. Go ahead and follow your boy at Cuts by Elvis as well as at Better Barbering. Appreciate you again for watching. Till next time, craft over clout. I'm out.